Before the sun clears the acacia trees, one adult male baboon has already given up the easiest part of his morning. A female is moving through the troop, stopping to feed, then moving again. The male stays close enough to follow every turn. When another adult male drifts toward her, he shifts between them. When the group heads toward a patch of grass, he has to choose, eat now, or keep watching the rival a few yards away. From the outside, he looks like the animal in charge, but in a baboon troop, the male at the top is not a leader in the human sense. He is not issuing commands or deciding where everyone goes. His rank comes from a repeated pattern of social encounters: who gives way, who wins a threat, who can claim space at a feeding site, and who gets support when conflict breaks out. That position can bring valuable access. It can also turn a normal day into a long, expensive contest. So do lower-ranking baboons experience less stress than their leaders? They can be less physiologically strained than the single male holding the #1 position, but lower rank is not a quiet life. A baboon near the bottom may escape one burden only to inherit another. More displacement, fewer good options, and less control over what happens when a stronger animal decides to take food, space, or a social opportunity. The surprising part is that both ends of the hierarchy can be costly, just for different reasons. To see why, it helps to stop treating stress as one simple feeling. In baboon research, scientists often track glucocorticoids, hormones that help the body respond to challenge. They mobilize energy. They can rise when an animal is threatened, sick, hungry, fighting, breeding, or facing a major social disruption. A short burst can be useful. A system that stays heavily engaged over long periods may be a different story. And a glucocorticoid measurement is not a tiny window into a baboon's private emotions. It shows that the body is responding to demands. To understand the demand, researchers have to look at behavior, rank, food, reproduction, season, injury, and the changing social map around the animal. That social map is unusually detailed in some wild baboon populations. Researchers have followed generations of savanna baboons in Kenya, recording who approaches whom, who threatens whom, who grooms, who mates, who gets injured, and who survives. The result is not a neat story about winners relaxing while losers suffer. For adult males, high rank usually brings serious advantages. A stronger social position can improve access to receptive females and reduce the chance that another male can casually push you away from a valuable feeding spot. In long-term studies of wild male baboons, males high in the hierarchy generally showed lower glucocorticoid levels than males lower down. Then the pattern bent sharply at the very top. The #1 male had higher glucocorticoid levels than the males immediately below him. He also carried high testosterone, which fits the intense reproductive competition surrounding that rank. The animal with the broadest access was not necessarily the animal with the easiest physiology. That distinction matters. A male ranked second or third can still have many of the benefits of status: more room to feed, better access to social partners, and fewer animals able to displace him. But he is not carrying the same immediate pressure as the male who is most likely to be challenged for prime mating opportunities. The top position is not a throne. It is a bottleneck. During periods when a female is fertile, males may form a temporary close association with her, often called a consortship. The top male is more likely to spend long stretches mate guarding, staying near her, monitoring rivals, and responding when another male tries to approach. He may have to keep moving when the troop moves, even if he has not had enough time to feed. The behavior can raise reproductive success, but it can also make the day metabolically expensive. Recent work from the same long-term population made that cost clearer. Top-ranking males showed both higher glucocorticoid levels and lower levels of a thyroid-related measure associated with energetic condition than males at other ranks. The researchers found that mate-guarding fertile females partly explained that energetic burden. The male at number 1 was not simply being stressed by rank itself. He was spending more of his day on a reproductive task that could not be postponed without giving rivals an opening. That is a very different mechanism from the one facing a low-ranking male. A subordinate male might not be mate guarding a fertile female at all. He may have more freedom to feed in that moment, and he may not need to stay locked onto every movement of the top male's rival. In that narrow sense, he can avoid some of the cost of holding the highest position. But lower rank comes with its own pressure. At a good food patch, a subordinate may move away when a stronger male approaches. In a tense encounter, he may be a target rather than the animal deciding when the exchange ends. He can be displaced repeatedly, and the pattern may be unpredictable enough that he has to stay alert without having many ways to change the outcome. That loss of control is important. A challenge is easier to manage when an animal can avoid it, end it, or predict it. It becomes more demanding when the animal must tolerate repeated interference from others. This is why the hierarchy does not produce one smooth line from calm at the top to misery at the bottom. It creates different kinds of exposure. A top male may pay heavily during reproductive competition. A low-ranking male may face more routine vulnerability. A middle-ranking male can be squeezed from both directions, with powerful animals above him and ambitious rivals below. A male who has just entered a troop may be low-ranking, but still be physically formidable. An older male may slide down the order and face a social world that looks very different from the one he occupied a few years earlier. Rank is not a personality label stamped onto a baboon. It is a changing relationship between an individual and the animals around him. The conditions of that relationship matter as much as the number beside it. Take a stable hierarchy. When most animals know who yields to whom, some conflicts can end with a glance, a posture, or a short chase. That does not make the troop peaceful, but it can make daily interactions more predictable. Now add instability. A young, strong male arrives. An established male weakens. Two rivals begin testing one another. Several females become fertile at the same time. Suddenly, yesterday's social rules may not work today. For the top male, instability can mean defending a position that is suddenly vulnerable. For a subordinate, it can mean more aggression spilling downward through the group. The hierarchy is still there, but its rules have become expensive for everyone who depends on them. The same point appears when researchers look beyond male competition. Female baboons often live in social systems built around long-term family lines. In the Amboseli population, daughters generally acquire rank in relation to their mother and female relatives. Their hierarchy is not identical to the shifting, competition-heavy system adult males experience. For females, a higher rank can mean more reliable priority of access in daily interactions and less frequent displacement by other females. In that setting, higher-ranking females have been found to show lower glucocorticoid levels than lower-ranking females. That is not a contradiction. It is the answer changing with the social machinery underneath it. A male who reaches number 1 through physical competition may gain access to fertile females while taking on a punishing workload. A female whose position is reinforced by close female relatives may experience rank as a buffer against repeated daily challenges. Both cases involve status. They do not involve the same costs, the same pathways, or the same social environment. This is where casual phrases such as "the boss is more stressed" become misleading. Which boss? Stressed by what? Over what timescale? And compared with whom? Hormone data alone cannot settle those questions. Fecal glucocorticoid measures tell researchers about hormonal activity over a recent period, rather than narrating the exact emotion of a single confrontation. The surrounding observations make the pattern useful. Whether the male was guarding a mate, whether food was scarce, whether rank was unstable, whether the animal was injured, or whether he had strong social relationships. Health data add another twist. in the same wild population. High-ranking males were less likely to become ill and recovered more quickly from injuries than low-ranking males, even after researchers accounted for age. The top-ranked males did especially well in wound healing, despite their elevated glucocorticoids and reproductive effort. At first, that seems backward. We often hear that stress hormones are bad for health. But the body does not work like a dashboard with one warning light. A high-ranking male may face heavy energetic demands during mating competition, while also having better access to resources, physical condition, and social advantages that support recovery. The lesson is not that stress helps, it is that a single measure cannot summarize an animal's health, hardship, or prospects. The opposite mistake is just as tempting, assuming lower stress hormones automatically mean an easier life. A subordinate male might show a lower value than the animal at number 1 during a period of intense mate guarding, yet still lose food, reproductive opportunities, and safety margins over time. His immediate hormonal profile would not erase the social disadvantages that shape his daily choices. Researchers have also found that long-term glucocorticoid exposure predicts survival in wild female baboons. Females with consistently higher levels across adulthood faced a greater risk of death. That finding does not mean one difficult week or one fight shortens a life. It shows why repeated patterns matter. The physiological cost of coping can accumulate, and it interacts with food conditions, disease, early development, reproduction, and social relationships. Early life is part of that story too. Female baboons that experienced more adversity when young have later shown higher glucocorticoid levels as adults. Two females can hold a similar rank in the same troop and still carry different developmental histories into the same social setting. Rank tells us something important. It does not tell us everything. Social relationships can shift the burden as well. Grooming between baboons is easy to dismiss as a cleaning ritual, but it also helps maintain predictable associations. Animals groom relatives, partners, and valuable allies. Those ties do not turn a harsh environment into a safe one, and grooming itself can happen after tension or during demanding periods. Still, long-term work in baboons shows that social connectedness matters for survival and infant outcomes, especially among females. A baboon's place in the group is therefore more than a rung on a ladder. It is a web of who can help, who can threaten, who has to yield, who gets access first, and who has someone nearby when conditions get difficult. There is one more reason the easy answer fails. Rank can mean different things on different days. Access to food is not fixed when rainfall changes the landscape. A fruiting tree can attract enough animals that a high-ranking individual gets first choice. A wide field of scattered grass may be harder to monopolize. A male can be socially secure in one troop and newly vulnerable after moving into another. He can be healthy enough to challenge rivals one season and limited by an injury the next. This is why scientists do not treat rank as a magic explanation. They ask whether rank changes access to food, exposure to aggression, mating effort, grooming partners, injury risk, or predictability. Then they ask whether those changes line up with hormone measures and health outcomes. Even with decades of observation, the answer remains conditional because the baboons' lives are conditional. A subordinate who spends much of the day near close relatives or reliable partners may not face the same costs as an isolated subordinate. A high-ranking male who is between periods of intense mating effort may not carry the same burden as the male currently guarding a fertile female. The useful comparison is never simply high versus low. It is a particular animal in a particular social position, facing a particular set of demands. That web can change quickly for males. Adult males may immigrate into new groups, rise in rank, fall after injury or age, and form different competitive relationships as the troop changes. The number one male may hold his position only briefly. His body is paying for an opportunity that may disappear the moment a stronger challenger arrives. So the male at dawn is not enjoying a permanent reward. He is working inside a narrow window. He stays close to the fertile female because a few minutes of inattention can matter. He watches the male approaching from the side because rank is valuable precisely because other males want what it provides. He passes a feeding patch because reproductive effort and feeding effort cannot always happen at full strength at the same time. A lower ranking male may watch that effort from farther away. He may be spared the concentrated metabolic cost of guarding that female, but he is also less likely to have the option of guarding her in the first place. That is the central trade-off. Subordinate baboons do not simply have less stress than their leaders. The single top-ranking male can carry an exceptional physiological and energetic burden, especially when reproductive competition is intense. Lower-ranking males may avoid that particular burden while living with more routine vulnerability and fewer ways to control social pressure. For females, higher rank may be associated with lower glucocorticoids in a social system shaped by stable kin networks. The best way to picture baboon rank is not as a ladder with comfort at one end and suffering at the other. It is more like a crowded feeding site where every position has a cost. Near the top, a male may spend the morning guarding a prize so valuable that he cannot relax long enough to eat. Near the bottom, another male may get to the grass first, only to step away the moment a stronger baboon turns in his direction.